I will now proceed to analyze the evidence. If you analyze Zumu's evidence, he says he was invited by a gentleman called Gwabeni to come to a celebration at Basotho Hostel. Because they will be having a party where there will be homeboys and they'll be celebrating, having eats and alcohol. And he duly arrived between 2 and 3 in that particular Saturday on the 26th of October 2014. And he says he was introduced to some of his homeboys. There were several of them there. Some he had met when he was still quartered in the rural areas. But subsequently, he became a policeman. He came to Joburg. He lost touch with them. And his evidence is that as a result, Gwabeni had to remind him, this is Rata, this is Mnisi, this is Baloi, this is Buthelezi. And he's excoriated for undertaking that trip, that memory trip with Gwabeni. I don't find it startling to be reintroduced to a person I last saw 10 years back. Some of them he remembered their names, some of them he did not. But what is critical and material for the evidence, as it will show later, maybe when other evidence is being led, is that he says at that confabulation he met or saw accused number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Saw them and met them and engaged them and spoke to them and even went to buy alcohol with them at Tops's bottle store. In my view, that is material evidence, critical evidence, because it relates to living human beings, live human beings. It's not relating to a car or a bicycle. Zungu says he was together with accused 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there was also the other gentleman who's also Mkhaya, a colleague of theirs, who comes from Natal, I think, Makosonke, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And also, he says, he was entertained by Gwabeni. At some stage, he says, accused number 4 came to request him to move his car, or somebody through the aegis of accused number 4 wanted Zungu to remove his car because somebody was intending to drive out of the hostel. He says he did that, and subsequently, he also met accused number 4. When the car was moved and everything was now speak and span, there was relaxation, and accused number 4 actually said this. My grandfather used to do the same. He's a Zulu. Nyabonga, thank you, thank you, thank you. And he says he gave him the key. That's how close he was. Thank you for removing the car for me, and here is your key. And further, Zumu says, at some stage, because there was no alcohol, Jameson was finished. The guys were drinking like fish. They went to go and buy alcohol. and they partook of that alcohol. And there's a piece of evidence, I don't think it's that important, but it is there, that accused number 4 bought some alcohol on that day of the 26th of June 2014, on the same day. Is that corroboration or not? Because Zumu says, I drank bottle upside down. We went to go buy some more liquor. Accused number 4 was with us in that red car or white car. He concedes. He says, I'm not sure. It could have been red, it could have been white, but it's a small car. So unlike a witness who comes to court and says we were there in a Rover 4x4. He said we went there in a small car. When it was pointed out to him that actually that car is in one of the photos and it is red, then he says, if it's so, it's possible. I did not particularly take care of the colors. At that time, the exigency was we were just enjoying ourselves. And Zungu also says, because he's a policeman, he had his service pistol in his possession and it was drinking spree. He had to safeguard it. He requested Gwabeni to safeguard it for him, and apparently he put it in his bedroom or in a cupboard. And then he also gave him over the keys of his car. And part of his evidence, Zungu, he says, at some stage, accused number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they vanished. And he says he became aware that they vanished when they returned en masse. They vanished, all of them. And when they came back, they returned as a group which had vanished. So there's nothing controversial or startling about that. And Zumu says, accused number 1, 2, 3, those were the initial persons who returned, walking together, and they got into Gwabeni's room. And he says, after some time, an appreciable time, accused number 4 and 5 followed, and they also went into Gwabeni's room. And what is peculiar and striking is that Zumu says all 5 of our friends, when they came back after having vanished for some time, he doesn't want to taper himself with time constraints, although we know that in this case, time was of the essence. He says they were obviously unsettled, shocked, breathing hard. And what was also noticeable, one of the gentlemen, apparently he initially had a black T-shirt on. When he comes back, he has changed into a gray T-shirt or vice versa. It's about the color. But the point is the T-shirt was changed. And Zumu, in his jovial manner, said, hey, it appears you've got a lot of this clothing. Can you spare some for me? As Zumu says, he said that when he noticed that one of the accused have changed into fresh clothing, different clothing. Zumu says when he noticed the unsettledness of the 5 accused, he realized that there could possibly be something on the wrong going on. And because he had left his firearm in Gwabeni's room, he stood up and followed these gentlemen into Gwabeni's room. He says when he got in, the lights went off. He surmises that it's possible somebody could have switched the lights off, but those lights were problematic. After some time, minute or so, the lights were on again. At that stage, number 2, I think, was handing over a .38 to Gwabeni. And number 3 was handing over a 9mm firearm to Gwabeni. He saw that with his eyes, that's what he says. And he says, it surprised him and shocked him because he was aware that Gwabeni is being sought or is facing charges for having murdered a particular gentleman using a 9mm. Now, Zumu is perturbed. He says, you're still messing around with firearms. What are you doing with this firearm? Didn't you use it to kill Snooky, or we'll remember the name just now? Then Gwabeni says, no, this is not the one that killed Rata or Snooky. The name is so important. This is not the one. That one I threw into the river or the dam, the one he used to kill a companion of theirs. He threw it away. Yeah, so he examined his own firearm because he suspected it could have been used in the manner, and I don't want to mention the switch, but that is the evidence. Because he says he was aware some people being Kapi. That's why he went and smelled his firearm, whether it has been used or not. And he discovered that it's not yet fired. And then he took it. That is Zumu's evidence. So at that time, it was a bit late. The party was petering to an end. And what's important is, before I forget, Zungu, apparently when he made a statement, it is before he was cross-examined on this aspect, he corrected himself, or he corrected the person who was making the statement, because she had written that when he entered Gwabeni's room, it was accused number 1, 2, and 5. In other words, after 1, 2, and 5 entered the room, thereafter 3 and 4 followed. But he says, no, the sequence is wrong. It was 1, 2, 3 who entered first, followed by 4 and 5. Now he's excoriated for being untruthful. But you know what? The forensic scientific result of this piece of evidence is he doesn't change the sequence of the players. He doesn't say there was Rata, there was Nisi, there was so-and-so. But when you write your statement, you mix up those characters. He mixes up the names, not the human beings. The human beings are constant. They remain accused number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He just mixes up the sequence as to whether 1, 2, and 3 went in first, or 1, 2, and 5 went in first. Of course, it's a mistake. I don't know, that mistake proves that he's a hopeless witness. Because like I say, the 5 accused remain alive. It's different if another accused or some other person who didn't put into the same aspects of the 5, assuming, let's say, Khotso Somthunzi, he could have said 1, 2, 3, and then put in Khotso Somthunzi. And then we discover that actually Khotso Somthunzi was never there. But the persons he enumerates, they are there from the beginning up to the end of the party. It's not a fatal mistake. It's not a material mistake. It's understandable. Yeah, just to round off the evidence of Zungu. And it is tried that a court sitting and hearing evidence being steeped in the atmosphere of a trial will surmise and it will know and even guess what is the important evidence which is being adduced. Like I made an example about the fact that Zumu, for instance, misspoke regarding the color of the car which they were driving, which they drove to Tops. He said it was white or whatever. The photograph says it's red. But what's important about that slip is because Zungu, on the 29th of June, took photographs with accused number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Exhibit SSSS, photographs right within the periphery of false lures. And this is so because the pole there records in the record of Pinky that photographs were taken at false lures. Accused number 4 concedes, I don't know why he had to do it. He says his client aligns himself with the evidence regarding directions of, I think it's number 5. Yeah, sorry, what was what? I assign my what?
Align himself with the cell phone records of accused
number 3. No. He says he assigns, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to ask you, but I just want to use the word. He
aligns.
Yeah, he says that is number 4, saying he aligns himself with the cell phone path of some of his colleagues. But the point I'm trying to make is there were photographs taken. We all know them. Exhibit S. Zumu himself says he was taken a photograph. There was some debate between himself and I think Mr. Mnisi to say, no, this is not you. And he says, look, it's me. I know myself. He's got 65 teeth. He must know himself. He says, it is I here. Yimilo. I can see myself. I'm here. He misconstrued some of the faces of the persons there. But what is important for this exercise is photographs were taken on the same day, during the same spell of time, by Pinky. Now Zungu, is it not corroboration that Zungu, who is supposed not to have been there, it was put by various councils here, that you were never ever at Basotho hostel. And we also were never at Basotho hostel. But suddenly there are photographs. Yes, so some of the piece of evidence, for instance, which is important also, this phone, S4 cell phone, which was allegedly robbed out of the house of Kelly and her mom, house number 1135, Kwenani Street, etc. The evidence is of a Zenani or Zandi that accused number whatever. I don't want to mention the name because that has not been settled. One of the robbers elbowed Kelly's mom and then took that cell phone. That cell phone was subsequently found in the late evening. It was about 463 meters away from Basotho hostel in the opposite direction. The evidence here, which is not contested, is that after Senzo was murdered, everybody panicked. Senzo was taken to hospital, Bophelong. Unfortunately, he loses his life there. The police subsequently returned On the 26th in the evening and even on the 27th, we are busy with investigations. But what is telling is this. All the people who were inside the house, their cell phones were taken and they were downloaded. And there is proof beyond doubt that all those cell phones gravitated after Senzo was shot towards Bophelong Hospital. All of them. And when they came back, the cell phones were taken, obviously. But they first gravitated to the hospital. But no cell phone of Mrs. Kelly Khumalo went to the hospital because somebody took it, robbed it, and went the opposite way. That's where it was deactivated to show that its trip was never to the hospital. It was only away. And that shows forensically, according to the experts, that that cell phone was actually robbed. There was also evidence concerning cell phone records. And the utilization of these cell phones are attributable to the gentleman in front of us. And the signal which was activated was in the vicinity of Basotho. We all saw the map. We'll have to revisit it. How far the so-called crime scene house is and how far Basotho hostel is. Pinky actually made a remark that maybe if you go there using skates, you'll reach. That's how near it is. And a cell phone, technologically, it zooms in for effective usage onto the pole which is nearest to it. And the nearest pole there at Basotho hostel was that pole of phosphorus. And we can count the telephone calls, we all know them. But there was communication across the board from accused number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and vice versa. Everybody was using a cell phone. Using a cell phone at or near and after even the incident, after Senzo was even long killed, the phone's communications continued. Mr. Khumalo says in his heads of argument, for instance, 14.12, in respect of the factual evidence of Zungu's evidence, the contradictions are material and affect his credibility. Assuming the learned counsel is correct, is he prepared to say, therefore, his evidence amounts to nothing? Nothing. Nothing. He never went to the Basotho hostel. He never saw accused number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He never went with accused number 4 and 5 towards Tops to buy alcohol. He never went and took photographs. They say it's near some building, let's say, or whatever. And there are photographs to that effect. We all saw them. And he says, yes, I didn't know who's taking the photographs. But it was put to him that, hey, the name of the guy who's taking the photograph is so-and-so, and he was there, and he was the driver of that red motor vehicle. So factually, that evidence, it has got corroboration, and scientific corroboration, cell phone corroboration, photographic corroboration, let alone physically, when he was saying they were traveling and they were speaking to whoever, he spoke to some woman there, what have you. Mr. Ramosi PDS on stage, when he was cross-examining Zungu, he put it to Zungu that my client accused number 2 himself says, he does not know you in toto. He just saw you here yesterday in court. Later on, of course, he corrected himself. He doesn't know you in toto, my client. And when the evidence surfaced, he corrected himself. Because there were photographs which depicted, amongst others, Zungu and some of our colleagues in court. I've already remarked about the fact that Zungu facetiously said he did not know accused number 4. And Zungu, when he was giving evidence, when you read the record clearly, he was very satiric. Some of us didn't pick it up. I thought if you're saying that, I would be lying. That's how we used to answer some of the questions. I can quote them for you. Satire, he was using a lot of satire. For instance, here's the satire, which I pick up. When Mr. Ramusipili had said to him, my client does not know you in toto. But he just saw you here yesterday in court. Then Zumu says, if that was said or was coming from accused 3, 4, and 5, I would have agreed with you. Okay, where I was born, or back home where I was born, or is Ndanzi. It's pure satire here. But if you don't understand the way he plays the language, you can't pick it up. And some of the persons who were in the photographs, he could not identify them because he says, it was the first time I see these persons. And I say we shouldn't forget that there was other evidence also, ballistic evidence, which, according to the evidence so far, Manganyi testified thereto with rule of say. But the long and the short of it, that firearm, which allegedly was used to shoot, kill, murder Senzo, it has been identified beyond all doubt. All doubt. Ballistic science says no 2 firearms in the world are similar in their traction, their rifling inside, and even the bullets, the way they penetrate a particular matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, matter. No 2 firearms, that's science, it's not me, in the world are similar. And in their reaction, so when Manganyi says this firearm is a firearm that was used to shoot and kill and murder Senzo, and we don't have dissenting evidence before us, because, as I say, here, we're still busy with a section 174 application. And there's other evidence also, which identifies some of the aspects, which I'll get into now. In terms of section 218, maybe we should read it. Can I have? We all know that generally, evidence of a confession by one accused person is not admissible against another accused person unless there are certain specifications. One of the specifications arise from section 218(1). Admissibility of facts discovered by means of inadmissible confession. Section 2181. Evidence may be admitted at criminal proceedings of any fact otherwise in evidence, notwithstanding that the witness who gives evidence of such fact discovered such fact or obtained knowledge of such fact only in consequence of information given by an accused appearing at such proceedings. In such proceedings, and notwithstanding that the fact that was discovered or came to the knowledge of such witness against the will or wish of such accused. Two, evidence may be admitted at criminal proceedings that anything was pointed out by an accused appearing at such proceedings, or that any fact or thing was discovered in consequence of information given by such accused, notwithstanding that such pointing out or information forms part of a confession or statement, which by law is not admissible in the evidence against such accused at such proceedings. Ginina says he's the one who arranged for the taking of the confessions by accused 1, 2, and the pointing out by 2. So in terms of section 2181, Ginina was able to read the confessions of accused 1, 2, and the pointing out of number 2. Because after arranging for Mbodlo to take down the confession and Rapadu to take down the confession, and Mrs. Kronje, the magistrate, for taking down the confession, he could read and see what is written there. And as a result of that, and he is not disbarred from having access to those confessions. The fact that he's an investigating officer is neither here nor there. He got information through reading those confessions that this was a planned, premeditated hit. It was not a robbery gone wrong. So, Yeninda was able to utilize that knowledge to go and arrest accused number 4 and number 5. Otherwise, he did not know Meromoto about he did not know Meromoto what, if at all, they could have done or didn't do. But after reading those confessions and pointing out, he went and arrested. And this is his evidence when he was being cross-examined by my learned colleagues here. So, Zungu's evidence, it's not a total write-off. We have taken about two hours talking about it. If it was a total write-off, I'm sure it would have taken 15 minutes. More than 2 hours examining Zungu's evidence. I beg to differ, advocate, when you say there's nothing you can glean from there. Nothing. Next. For instance, Zungu is the one who introduced Gininda to his father, who lives in Durban and runs a taxi between Mpumalanga and Natal, who had, yes, evidence, fine, who had that there are persons who are responsible for having murdered
Ithi inkosi enkantolo
Senzo. In
ubufakazi
Durban, Peter Marisbeck, he was frightened away towards Joburg by Geninda, who took a statement from this unreliable informer called Zungu. He gave Geninda the information. So I beg to differ, Advocate Khumalo, that the evidence of Zungu is unreliable, contradictory, hopeless. Nobody can make head or tail of that evidence. That evidence, like when I was quoting State versus Gentle, it has some corroboration. For instance, that he was there at Basotho hostel. I mean, all indications are he was there. Because if you're saying he wasn't there, how would he know about tops? How would he go and take photographs with our colleagues here? He took photographs with them if he wasn't there. And no one says Zumu is a perfect witness. I've never come and met a perfect witness. I'm 55 years in the profession. Perfect witness. But look at Zungu. Zungu says, Zungu says, when they were jollying happy on the 26th of June 2014, accused number one celebrated and said, out of the blue, have you heard? Senzo is no more. And Zumu says that jolted him. How can you joke like this? Because he repeated it once or twice. Have you heard? Senzo is no more. And what he does is he checks his social media SIM card or phone, and he doesn't find it there. And everybody grumbles to say, no, man, you can't say things like this. And that incantation is so serious that nobody, according to Zungu, in that vicinity, believed it. And he got the shock of his life, Zungu, when in the morning there was a news flash that Senzo has been murdered. Then he went to rush and buy newspapers because they always had this uneasy feeling. Now, here it is. It's confirmed. Before anybody else, the previous day, had announced it, there was no press report, according to Zoom, not me. I'll end there. You know what? This is just an application to find out, evaluate if there is evidence before this court. If there is evidence, not Zungu's evidence. If there is evidence, the evidence of the firearm, the evidence of the bullets, the evidence of the photographs, the evidence of the cell phone, which was picked up, was robbed by one of the invaders. If there's also evidence of telephone calls, there are hundreds and hundreds of telephone calls which were exchanged. But we are not here dealing with the merits, to write a judgment on the merits. It was just what you'd call a purview of seeing whether there is evidence upon which a reasonable man thinking seriously can convict. But I don't even put it that high. At the most here, I find that there is prima facie evidence which needs an answer. There is. And I don't have to delve into those other aspects. And consequently, I cannot discharge my learned colleague of number 4, there is evidence